Om Hari Om. Om Hari Om. Om Hari Om. Om Sahana Vavatu. Sahano Bhunaktu. Saha Viryam Karavavahai. Tejasvina Aditamastu. Ma Vidvisha Vahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, may the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, 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 and thy blessed beneficence be unto us and to all your children everywhere. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday morning talk. The subject this morning is an eternal invitation. The structure of today's presentation will be, I will read a poem titled An Eternal Invitation, and then we'll go back and see what that poem says and means line by line. So again, welcome to our Sunday morning talk. Before we begin, is there anything that anyone would like to say, comment, question, concern, before we begin? Anything at all from anyone that needs some attention before we start? All right, so you're going to be able to hear me, I hope, but I'm going to hide the Zoom screen and then read the poem. Please let me know immediately if you can hear me. An eternal invitation. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Brother Shankara.
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. Thank you. An eternal invitation. Are we children of this earth or merely visitors here? Most minds say yes to the first thought. Many hearts hold the second one dear. Can this mystery be solved for certain? Can we know the complete truth? We hear there's an ancient cure, an invitation that heals the blindness of both the wandering mind and wondering heart. Turn within, the sages write. Visit that eloquent silence each morning and every night. Only then can you take direction from one who has been on this path for years, who has listened long to that silence, who can soothe the cause of your tears. When you believe in that invitation, when you accept it with love and joy, you're overcome with this recollection, who you are, how you came to be. Doubt and fear become things of the past. You know them as merely dreams. A great stillness begins with a thunderclap. Your whole being sings, I am free, free at last. A great stillness begins with a thunderclap. Your whole being sings, I am free, free at last. So that's the poem. And as I said, I'm going to go through it line by line and see what it is that is the intention. The intention, of course, is to give some emphasis to the idea that the divine being, as a verb, the divine is being, and that's all there is. But certainly that isn't how it seems to us as we sit here this morning. I would say that's likely to be true for all of us. There's a sense that we're children of this phenomenal realm, children of this earth. But something in us knows it's not true. So are we children of this earth or merely visitors here? Most minds say yes to the first thought. Many hearts hold the second one dear. And it is people who are typically not spiritual aspirants who feel that they are children of this earth, that they are part of this realm. But it is spiritual aspirants like ourselves who have this sense, no, I'm just a visitor here. What is it that I'm visiting? Can this mystery be solved for certain? Can we know the complete truth? Well, we hear that there are people who have known the complete truth. These are the ones who write for us what I'm about to read in the next few lines. But can this mystery be solved for certain? Can we know the complete truth? What is it that knows? We have the mind, body, intellect that knows at one level, and it isn't that what that knows is untrue. How can it be untrue when it is a creation of the divine being? So we have this body, mind, intellect, the senses and so on, that knows something. But for those of us who are spiritual aspirants, there is this suggestion, this feeling that that's not the complete truth, that there's a greater, or at least an additional truth beyond that. So then we hear there's an ancient cure, a cure for this this desire to know, a cure for this lack that we feel. We hear there's an ancient cure, an invitation that heals the blindness of both the wandering mind and the wandering heart. And this is the key. That mind, whatever that body, mind, intellect senses, whatever it knows, it is constantly wandering because the world around it, the world in which it exists, this realm, is constantly changing. So the mind is constantly wandering, trying to understand what it is that it is giving rise to this change and what the implications are for the body, mind, intellect, the stardust spacesuit. So the mind is constantly wandering. And then the heart is constantly wondering at what is this? What is this greater being? So we hear there's an ancient cure that heals the blindness of both the wandering mind and the wandering heart. And here's a summary of it. Turn within, the sages write. Turn within, away from the world of the body, mind, senses. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but they aren't the complete truth. So turn within to find more, deeper truth. Visit that eloquent silence each morning and every night. Now, this is what the sages write. Each morning and every night. Must you do that? No, there's nothing that you must do. It's not a question of mustness. It's a question of what is most auspicious for you. So if you can, indeed, visit that eloquent silence each morning and every night, you're more likely to make more rapid progress toward what that eloquent silence. The word eloquent is very well chosen because that silence does speak to us. It doesn't speak to us in words. It speaks to us in the voice of silence or the voice of the divine being. And its eloquence guides us forward and also enables us to do what's in the next lines. But before we go ahead with what is the culmination of all of this, is there any comment or question or concern from anyone? And please say it right out. Whatever it is that is on your mind, we want to hear it. The congregation gathers as holy company.
I'll go. Can
Please,
you hear me?
Tom.
So the last few nights, we've been watching this documentary on Netflix called Chimp Empire, and they're filming a bunch of chimpanzees in their natural state in this big forest in Africa. And I'm convinced myself that evolution is true and that we evolved from a common ancestor with chimpanzees about 6 million years ago. And there's something about that to me is just really wonderful. If I go back even farther, I had a common ancestor with my dog about 50 million years ago. 50 million years ago, there was some animal, or maybe it was 100 million, a long time ago, there was some animal and it had children and children and children that evolved in different directions. And one of them became my dog and one of them became me. Became chimpanzees. And one of them became the cat, at the Vedanta Center, which I'm going to feed today. And one of them became the animals that are suffering in factory farming that are part of the cat food, all of that. But the interconnection of all life, to me, just seems like, when I think about it, it's just a wonderful thing, and it's just amazing. And I feel a part of life, and I have no idea if we got here just by total accident through random mutation, or if we got here through some, divine push to cause us to evolve in a certain way. I just don't know. I don't know. And consciousness, did it come from the chemical nature of my brain, or is it some big eternal thing outside of my brain? Again, I just don't know. And I'm fine not knowing. In fact, I kind of enjoy the sense of mystery of not knowing. And none of this conflicts with what I would think of as my spiritual path, which is just to sit down in meditation every day and pay attention to what's going on. So I hope that made sense to somebody, but I enjoyed saying it. Thanks for listening.
Well, thank you, Tom, and it did make great sense. And of course, there are any number of answers to the question, how did this come to be? The one that is part of our lineage, is our tradition, was expressed by Swami Vivekananda when he said that from the time that this iteration, this example of creation came to be, everything was involved in the smallest particle that existed, that came to exist as a result of there being creation. Everything that was to be was involved in that. And over the eons, that has evolved from this involute state to this evolute state, evolved and become more and more, the term is anti-entropic, more complex and more specialized, until we get to, as Tom pointed out, the animal kingdom, of which we are a part. Incontrovertibly, we are part of the animal kingdom. But we have this unique ability, we're told, among the animal kingdom, to know that we are something, that there's something more to us than just the animal self. And so this is where we take off as spiritual aspirants. What is it that is, but it is all the divine, as I said, as a verb, being. It is without exception. Nothing is outside that, which dignifies and ennobles every aspect of ourselves, including the body-mind complex. This too is an intention of the divine, and is said so that it can experience itself. But those are people who say they know that's true. We say it without knowing it's true. But this is, if you read the Love Poems from God book, many of the saints in that express that opinion, that this all exists so that the divine may experience itself. It's a lovely thought. And so we are that divine experiencing itself. Thank you, Tom, as always. And it was very clear what you said. Anything else from anyone about that, or anything else that you've heard?
I have a comment.
Yes, dear.
I really like this poem. By the way, for anyone who wants to look at it while we're talking about it, it's on the homepage of the center's website at vedantaatlanta.org. The first lines, "Are we children of this earth or merely visitors here?" Most minds say yes to the first thought. Many hearts hold the second one dear. And I have personally come to a point where I hold both answers dear, and I believe that they're both true, and I believe that they both can be true. I don't have a problem with that. It doesn't explain everything, but it makes me more, it just makes me feel more grounded and settled to be in that spot rather than, no, we are just children of this earth, or no, we are children of the stars, or we're all of it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. That's it. There is nothing outside the ground of being. Being as a verb. Nothing outside. So both must be true. And what are the implications of that? That our body-mind complex, our realm of the senses, and is a truth, and that which is beyond or within that is also true. So, as you say, it leaves you more comfortable sitting where you are, that you don't have to, it really isn't something to be solved. Or you can say that is the solution.
But I do want to also say that what's in this piece that I believe is absolutely true is that the answer to uncomfortableness about this dilemma that we seem to have is to be found in silence.
Thank you. Turning within. That's what the sages say. If you want to get comfortable, turn within. And then you can gain some comfort because it becomes clear to you in that eloquent silence. That eloquent silence communicates to you, you're fine. Everything is fine. It may not be absolutely fine every moment in the realm of the relative, but it is absolutely fine. Certainly, all of us have had experiences that let us know that things aren't fine in the relative all the time. And we learn from those experiences. And that's apparently the reason that they occur. As Holy Mother said, in time, you come to see all suffering as a blessing. But within that silence, we gain this is where we get this joy of, oh, there's nothing to fear, nothing to worry about. Thank you, Cindy. Anything else from anyone?
I hope I'm saying his name right. Swami Samayananda. Are you?
I don't know that name, but that Samyamananda.
Maybe that's, like I said, I may not be pronouncing his name right.
Samyama is is a principle of Patanjali that is the focus of the combined focus of concentration and meditation. So that's he
anyway,
has
some, he's part of the Ramakrishna order and has some talks online, and some of them about very practical information, but some of them about purifying the mind. And also I just saw a talk yesterday where, he was talking about this kind of a thing. And, he was saying that, basically it's like two ends of the spectrum. We have the animal side and the divine side, and that, worldly desires and sensual pleasures move us towards that animal side, and in the purification of the mind and things move us towards the divinity. And so I've been working on some of his purification techniques and paying attention to the sensual desires, and I could really see what he's saying about the I think he called it the animalnimity in us. And I don't know. I wish I knew the name of the talk, but I don't know. It just really, I can understand it. It just sounds like the same thing.
Well, thank you, Bhagavan Das, and
No, that didn't entirely make sense, but
oh, it did make sense. It made perfect sense. The sometimes these teachers, particularly the Ramakrishna order teachers, they preach renunciation. And this is what this Samyamananda is preaching, is renunciation. Why? Well, because Sri Ramakrishna said, they're followers of Sri Ramakrishna, this allows, when you do this, it allows you to more quickly accept his invitation to unchain you and set you free. This is what's said in Breaker of the World, this world's chain. How great was thy sacrifice? Speaking of Sri Ramakrishna, how great was thy sacrifice, freely choosing thy birth in this prison, our iron age, to unchain us and set us free. Perfect, whom lust could not taint, nor passion nor gold draw near, O Master of all who renounce, fill our hearts full of love for thee. Thou hast finished with fear and with doubt, standing firm in the vision of God, refuge to all who have cast fame, fortune, and friends away. And so this is why these Ramakrishna order Swamis most often will preach a kind of renunciation. Now, and for those of you who wish to follow in those footsteps, you can take initiation. The voice of the eternal teacher will give you instruction, and you will then be secure in the knowledge that Sri Ramakrishna will give you liberation, freedom. Not everyone takes that path, and there's no must about it. So this is what we're talking about today. What is available to you if you don't take that path? This is this eternal invitation that is always there. And how do you access its power to go beyond limitation, and then understand the nature of limitation and why there's limitation, but still go beyond it to what that eloquent silence contains. So thank you, Bhagavan Das. That made perfect sense. And Samyamananda makes perfect sense. Anything else from anyone? All right, I'm going to then hide this and go back to the poem. We hear there's an ancient cure, an invitation that heals the blindness of the wandering mind and wondering heart. Turn within the sage's right. Visit that eloquent silence each morning and every night. Only then can you take direction from one who has been on this path for years, who has listened to that silence, and who can soothe the cause of your tears. So now this is new. When you believe in that invitation, when you accept it with love and joy, you're overcome with this recollection, who you are, how you came to be. Doubt and fear become things of the past. You know them as merely dreams. A great silence, a great stillness begins with a thunderclap. Your whole being sings, I am free, free at last. Only then can you take direction from one who has been on this path for years, who has listened long to that silence, and who can soothe the cause of your tears. When you believe in that invitation, when you accept it with love and joy, you're overcome with this recollection, who you are, how you came to be. Doubt and fear become things of the past. You know them as merely dreams. A great stillness begins with a thunderclap. Your whole being sings, I am free. I'm free at last. So who is this that we can take direction from? It's anyone who has been down this path. Now, there are many, 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 many. Sri Ramakrishna is one, of course, but there are many others. But they all say the same thing when, in one way or another. If you want to understand the realm of time, space, and causation, the relative, you must for a time turn away from it. Only then can you take direction from one who has been on this path for years, who has listened long to that silence, who can soothe the cause of your tears. Why do we cry tears? Because we sometimes feel so unseated, so unresolved. We just yearn for comfort, for understanding. Once this yearning has awakened in us, as Swami Prabhupada says, it becomes an unbearable ache. It becomes an unbearable ache. And so you want to be, once again, comfortable. You were comfortable before you began this path, in a sense. There was that sense of discomfort that led you to this path. But then there's this is the reason for our tears. They may be cried openly, they may be cried simply in the heart. But these people who speak to us can soothe the cause of your tears. When you believe in that invitation, their invitation, when you accept it with love and joy. Now we believe in that invitation because we believe in the people who are offering it to us, whether it be the scriptures or some particular teacher. It is, we believe in that invitation because we believe in the person or the scripture. And the scripture, of course, was written by some person at some time. We believe in that invitation. When you accept it with love and joy, when you believe, oh yes, this person, this scripture is telling me the truth, and if I accept it with love and joy, then progress will be made. Progress toward what? You're overcome with this recollection, who you are, who you came to be, how you came to be. You're overcome when you believe in that invitation, when you accept it with love and joy. You're overcome with this recollection, who you are, how you came to be. That you are the divine being. You are the divine being in all its fullness. No limitation, no body, no name or form contains you. Who you are, that divine being, being itself, and how you came to be, because that was the desire of that being. Otherwise, why would it have come to be? All of these saints, as I said, all of them say there was a desire, some sort of desire of the divine. And they say it in various ways, but they say it to experience itself. So you are that divine experiencing itself. You know who you are and how you came to be. And so,
Unknown caller.
can't talk now, I'm in class. So, you know who you are, how you came to be. Doubt and fear become things of the past. It isn't that that they disappear. You remember them. You remember there was doubt and fear. But you know them as merely dreams. This was a dream you were dreaming of doubt and fear. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It is quite natural. It is what leads to our tears. Doubt and fear. But you know them as merely dreams. A great stillness begins with a thunderclap. And this is what we're told. We're told when the penetration finally is complete, that the awakening is full. There is this, Swami Prabhupada said it so clearly. It begins with a, like that. And that is both the ending of one thing and the beginning of another. That thunderclap. And the final line of the poem, your whole being sings, I'm free, free at last, free from all limitation, free from all doubt and fear, free from all that in any way inhibits my joyous experience. Now we are saying these things, and all of this is written very sincerely. But please don't think, please don't imagine that I'm saying that this is an altogether truth for me. I'm still with you on the path. And that's one of the reasons it is so joyous, in a way, that we are together on this path. And so we work as a congregation. Here we are. So, having said all that, is there anything that anyone else would like to say or contribute? We have plenty of time. Please make yourself known. Anything at all from anyone about what has been said or what might have been said that wasn't said.
I'll say something.
Okay, Tom?
So for me, I don't know what, okay, first, that state that he describes in a really beautiful way of fear dropping away. I know that to be true. I've had that experience. I have that experience, but it's temporary. Fear drops away, and it's, sense of self drops away. Everything drops away. It's incredibly joyous. I rest in the joy, and that's all great, and it's temporary. And an hour later, I can be worrying about something or angry at somebody or this or that. For me, it's a temporary state, and that's just the way it is. The reason I'm talking about this is that I went through a long period of time where I felt like a real failure at meditation because it was only a temporary state. But now I realize, for everybody I know and everybody I've ever talked to and asked about it, it's a temporary state. It's wonderful that it happens. Maybe someday it becomes permanent, but I guess my approach is just to enjoy the moment by moment. There may be some future moment where I become enlightened forever or not, I don't know, but this moment's pretty good. I'm sort of like resting in joy in this moment, and so I'm just going to enjoy this moment, and if some better moment comes in the future, that's great too. Or if I get frightened and angry in the future, I don't think of that as great, but it's something that I'll put up with. So that's sort of the way it is for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Well, exactly. Both states, the relative and the absolute, this where we feel secure, free from doubt and fear, and so on, is one state. This other state,
Unknown caller.
excuse me. So the idea is that both of these states, the relative and the absolute, are a truth. How could they be otherwise? They are a creation of the divine being. It's when we come to fully understand that we are able to accept them both and be free from being limited by them. Instead, they're simply what happens in any given moment. As Adi Shankaracharya points out in the last two chapters of the Vivekachudamani, the crest jewel of discrimination, even the illumined, as long as they're embodied, are visited by and participate in their prarabdha karma, that which originated their incarnation in this lifetime.
Unknown caller.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't talk now. I'm in class. So yes, Tom, exactly. And there's no reason to feel uncomfortable in the least about, of course, it makes us uncomfortable when we get angry and when we're displeased with what's around us. But the more we experience what is within, the more we put that in proper perspective, and the less time as is said in AA. They have an acronym, FIR, FIR. How frequently do we get angry or in this negative state? How intense is it? How frequent, how intense, and how rapid is our recovery? And the more we practice our spiritual disciplines, our spiritual path, the less frequent these things become, the less intense they become, and we recover from them more quickly, simply because we understand that they just come from this body-mind complex and its inclinations and its habits. Nothing to worry about, nothing to concern yourself about, except in as much as these things may affect other people. In which case, again, from the perspective of AA, if you have been abusive to someone, you make amends and apologize. So again, thank you, Tom, as always. So good to hear from you. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara, this is Haima.
Yes, I'm a dear.
I just want to comment on what Tom said. I want to add something to his comments. He said it's a temporary when he's doing, yes, when you are on the journey of the meditation, it was temporary from my personal experience. When it ripened completely, when it became regular for years of meditation, then it becomes permanent, that it settles. It just
Exactly.
doesn't become temporary anymore. It will happen, but it's when we're on the journey, it's a it feels temporary.
That's what is meant by being free.
Yes, feel liberated more.
We see everything for what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't mean I'm a sage or anything. Just it happens to us. It becomes permanent. Yes, there will be some shortcomings every now and then. We fall back, like Swami says, Vivekananda says, 1,000 times, and then we get up 1,001 times.
Yes.
That occasional things may happen, but we recover very fastly. We get back to ourselves. I fell back. Here I am. I'm not going to let that happen. Then we recover, and then we keep moving forward with that type of mentality. And also, I wanted to add one little thing. There was a saying in yoga, Srushti, this is Sanskrit version. Srushti doesn't change your drishti. Srushti means creation. What things are happening every day as it is, that is creation. It doesn't change, but change your perception, that is drishti. So we have to change our perceptions and accept things as they are. Then it becomes, we feel more liberated.
Exactly. That's exactly what the last stanza of this poem is about. When you accept things for what they are, with love and joy,
Thank you.
Then there's freedom.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
And this is a personal question, so don't answer it if you don't want to. But are you saying that it's become permanent for you or long lasting?
What is it?
Has it become permanent for you?
Yes, it has become completely permanent. I'm doing my regular activities. Just, I like, if somebody wants to come, my door is open. If they don't want to come, my heart is still pure and that's fine with me. I don't get angry for that. So every now and then I may fall back, but I recover within moments. I fell back. No way. That's not the way I want to be. This is the way, harmonious way I want to be. So I pick up my harmony right away, without any doubt. But it will happen. You continue to keep on your disciplined meditation, morning and nights, before dawn. After dawn, so after sunset, and then before sunrise. That's the key to it. For me, that was the key. And so it will happen. It will happen one day. You will suddenly be surprised. God, wow, this is happening. And I know I'm not a sage. I'm not a monk. I'm not wearing Rudraksha Mala, or I'm not wearing ochre cloth, but that thing will happen to us. All of us, we find ourselves. That's the self-realization. Once we find ourselves, we take things as they are. That is the way divine meant it to be. That is the way it's going to be. I just want to accept it 100%. There's no 99%. You accept it wholeheartedly. And it'll happen. Keep trying. Don't give up.
I won't give up.
Never give up. Keep trying.
And when it's 99%, it's 99%.
Yes, but you'll
When
get
it's
there.
still at 1%, don't feel like there's anything wrong. It's just, it hasn't
We're on,
entirely happened yet.
we are traveling. We are on the journey there. We are just trying to reach. Thank you, Brother Shankara, for the time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thanks to you and Tom.
In my
Brother
recent,
Shankar, I had a question, which is
Yes.
linked to what Mrs. Haima said. So, human beings are supposed to have navaras, that is 9 emotions. And anger is one of the emotions. And even Shiva gets angry when certain stimuli, he's exposed to certain stimulus. So the question I have is, can a human being in the real world really survive without having navaras? If it transcends all emotions, he or she, can they really survive in the real world that we live in?
Well, each person has to answer that question for themselves. But the answer from here would be, no, and this is the thing that we come to understand through spiritual practice. There's nothing wrong in manifesting these things. They are part of the gift of this body, mind, intellect, this stardust spacesuit. So we will survive in the world. Of course, when certain things happen, when certain stimuli occur, as you said, we mustn't allow ourselves to be trampled on by others. But as Sri Ramakrishna tells this story, don't bite, hiss. The story is of the snake. Sri Ramakrishna tells the story of a snake.
Yes.
The snake lived near a village. It was a cobra, and it would bite. And this holy man came by. The snake asked instructions, and the holy man said, "Well, stop biting. Start practicing your spiritual disciplines, and stop biting." And he gave him these spiritual disciplines. He came back a couple of years later, and the snake was all emaciated and near death. And he said, "What happened to you?" And the snake said, "Well, I stopped biting, so the children of the village began, every time I came out to get something to eat, they would throw rocks at me and injure me. So I had to come out only at night and eat whatever I could find and go back in my hole." And the holy man said, "Fool, I said don't bite, but I didn't say don't hiss." Hiss. We can hiss and make ourselves known. So yes, anger is there. If we indulge in it because it makes us feel good and strong, then we're just misdirected. It isn't that we're, totally bad and wrong, but if we use it for what it's meant to be, which is, an expression of "don't tread on me," then of course it's perfectly legitimate. Does that answer your question?
Can I?
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, it does answer my immediate question, but there are more questions which we can talk about later. But yeah, for now it does.
Well, anything that you'd like to ask, please do.
Can I
Brother
add?
Shank,
We're here for.
Brother Shankara, can I add something?
Please do.
Okay, so it's kind of related to what you were saying about the hissing. Is that what I feel is that if you don't get angry, your chances of survival actually increase because your mind is clear to come up with strategies of how to tackle a situation, you know. And I think hissing is like what you just said is a strategy where you can scare the kids, right? I mean, scare the village so they don't they don't hit the serpent. So don't they say that if your mind is calm, you can make better decisions? And
Yes.
anger, right? So
Well, I'll just point to the current conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and this is I'm just having I'm trying to argue the case multiple ways because I believe there is a place for navaras in human life on the material world. So if you think about it, a country attacked another country, and if the other country only hisses and does not bite, they will end up being like the snake. They'll not only be emaciated, they will be destroyed. So I believe that there is a right place for hissing and a right place for biting. And unfortunately, in the material plane, there are times when you have to bite.
Well,
So they're
the
talking about this
political-
story in Krishna about the serpent, and the teacher went to the serpent and told the serpent, you know, that, you know, he's told the snake, he said, stop biting. He said, hiss. He said, and hissing comes from using your spiritual practices. So he went back to check on the snake, and he said, what's wrong? He said, well, the kids kept hitting me with rocks, and I couldn't get anything to eat. The teacher said, it's okay not to bite, but you must hiss. And he said, use your anger to say, don't tread on me. That's okay to use your anger. That's hissing, but don't use your anger to bite.
what
They're
is-
talking about it's not okay to be abused and beat down and stuff. And
as was pointed out, in the world of politics and world,
Someone is.
somebody's
Never
got
fight with
to,
another pig. They'll both end up muddy, and the pig will like it.
wow.
what weeks you've got your,
I know,
But it's saying that the spiritual practices is what gets you to a place where you can hiss instead of bite. And that's what
people
we're
want to
doing.
bring you down.
Yep.
And that's us if we allow
And
it.
they're throwing their rocks at us, wanting us to bite. And these spiritual practices are real. That hissing is, can't talk to you. You know, I'm not going to listen to this, or, you know, I'm not answering my phone. What you said to Mom the other day, you didn't bite at her.
we're
You told her how
speaking
that
of
made you
two-
feel. And
What screen?
I just muted whoever that is. I just, sorry, I don't know who you are, or if you're just in here to rant at us, but that's what it sounds like. So, yeah.
the idea is we have two what appear to be different realms. The world of geopolitics and warfare and all of that. As is pointed out in the Gita, if it is your responsibility to participate in those things as a warrior, then do it. Otherwise, don't. Follow the path of spiritual inclination. It isn't that there are two worlds, but there are two aspects to this world. And so we can't be entrapped by the idea that there's some way that we must be in order to be in accord with the relative world. The relative world it comes and goes. It comes and goes with this spacesuit. We're not going to last very long. How can we be most comfortable? How can we be most successful in the time that we have? And this is what the great teachers tell us over and over. Turn within, understand the nature of both relative reality and the reality of the absolute, the Atman. And when you do have that understanding, then you know how to behave appropriately in both the relative and absolute realms. And for the spiritual aspirant, it will mean, as a general rule, as Krishna says in the Gita to Arjuna, as a general rule, it means that you will not participate. He tells them, fight, because it is your role to fight. But when you've finished, then return to this other way of being, which is what Sri Krishna talks about in chapters 17 and 18 of the Gita.
Yeah. Brother Shankara?
Yes.
This is Jeff.
Yes, Jeff.
To look at the concept of hissing for a minute, I don't know that we can say for sure what Sri Ramakrishna meant by that, because he was kind of teaching through a parable. But I've always heard that enlightened beings don't get angry at all, but they may feign being angry. They may say a cross word or two when they feel they need to teach a lesson or to reprimand a disciple or something like that. So it's acting. It's not necessarily generally being angry. Does that ring true with what you know?
Well, all I can say is what Sri Ramakrishna said to his trusted nephew and longtime assistant Fridor. He said, when I get angry, you be quiet. When you get angry, I'll be quiet. Sri Ramakrishna did get angry. And whether it was a strategy or whether it was real anger, he did get angry. He got angry even at the Divine Mother, at Kali. Is this any way to treat someone? There was this woman who was being so abused by her fellow beings for being poor and helpless. And Sri Ramakrishna got quite angry with the mother. Is this any way to treat your daughter? And he said that tamasic devotion, getting angry with the mother, getting angry with the divine presence because of your sense of frustration at being displaced and isolated and entrapped in the relative world. It was perfectly all right to get angry with the mother and say, are your 8-month child? No, I'm not your 8-month child. I'm not your premature baby. I am your child. And so give me what I need. And he was very emphatic that you will receive everything that you need if you go to the mother and ask, which is the same message that as Jesus Christ said, when he said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall be added unto you. All knowledge, all wisdom, all that was hidden will be revealed when we seek first the kingdom of God. And this is what Sri Ramakrishna said. First know God, then all of these things, all of these seeming problems and paradoxes are resolved. That's my answer, Jeff. Does that get it for you?
I think that's about the best answer that can be.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Brother Shankara, I just want to add one little thing. I know we are out of time. I don't want to keep you too long here. That is for all of your questions and answers. Just want to add to your wisdom. Especially Majmudar D, I see the name. He asked a question. I'm not going into politics or extreme abuses. This is like anger is a great emotion we all experience, but we will develop emotional regulation through our practices. Through our practices, especially meditation, it gives us, when we face opposition, that is when anger comes. But we develop calmness. Automatically, the calmness settles down with us. So we become much calmer. We will have better emotional regulation. Then anger, definitely, we all experience angry incidents. There is always an opposing force in our lives. Almost every day we face something, somebody cutting you on the road, that could tick us off, but we get better emotional regulation. That's all my answer.
Thank you, Haima. As always, 2 comments. First of all, yes, you're absolutely right. And that's why that FIR acronym is so applicable. And secondly, there's no limitation as to time. No one is keeping me. If the congregation wishes to continue this discussion, there's no limitation. We can just finish whenever we finish. So
I have
Brothers,
one.
yes,
can I say something, please?
please.
Brother Gaurav here.
Yes,
And it is not a coincidence in life, or nothing is coincidental, as we all know. Everything is Divine Mother's play. And whatever Haimaji said, it resonates greatly with me. And more I get into the spiritual, my spiritual pursuit for the Divine Mother, she brings that awareness that when you're on the verge of getting angry, or even if you're angry, you know that you're not the doer. This is a test for you to calm down. And when you realize that as objectively, that this body is getting angry, you'd automatically switch back and say, oh, nope, I know mom's testing me through some tests here. I just gotta pray to her, and I'll calm down.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Gaurav, because Jill Bolte Taylor, in her new book, Whole Brain Living, points out that anger is an autonomic response from the left brain limbic system. And it releases a chemical into the bloodstream that produces this flare of anger. And it is a necessary defensive maneuver, one that has been learned over the eons of the human being evolving to having this left limbic system. But the magic is that chemical that is released it becomes another kind of chemical. It dissolves and becomes another kind of chemical in just 90 seconds. So that the first 90 seconds is autonomic, it is spontaneous, it is an evolutionary response to stimulus. Beyond that 90 seconds, anger becomes a choice, which is exactly what you said, Gaurav. Will we calm down now? We got angry. We demonstrated anger. Will we now calm down? And these are very important things for a spiritual aspirant to know, that there is this body-mind complex, this spacesuit has its, and the other of that 90-second response is fear. Anger and fear are known as 2 of the so-called impediments, but they needn't be an impediment if we understand what they are and understand that fear also has this 90-second breakdown. And after 90 seconds, we can look clearly and say, is there anything truly to be afraid of? If there is, then we should respond appropriately. There are times when there is something to be afraid of. But most of the time, that's not the case. We've simply, our alarm bell has gone off.
And brother, this was actually something that happened to me. Like there's this coffee table book of Durga Ma that I have, and my dog, she's a beautiful dog, she chewed at it. And I said, oh my gosh, means I couldn't think for 2 seconds and I was yelling at her and everything. Then I realized, oh, nope, that's all mother's plan right here. I just gotta surrender. It's not the body. I'm not the doer. And
yes, and it is just a book.
It's just a book, yes.
However beautiful, however meaningful it is just a book.
I have a question, Brother Shankar. So if you go back into Mahabharata, you know, Bhim broke off Duryodhan's leg from his hip. He ripped it apart because he had indulged in declaring Draupadi in the Darbar. So my question is, clearly there was a lot of, a violation of Bhim's values that was involved there also. But the predominant emotion when he did that act was anger. So the question is, was that anger right? Or should he have controlled it and let it go?
Well, that's above my paycheck. I really don't know the answer to that question because I don't know the context well enough to answer your question. But
well, I'll put it in a modern context. So if you think about the death of Greg Floyd, should people have gotten angry about it?
Say it again.
Or should they have, the Greg Floyd, the guy who got killed in Minnesota because somebody kneeled on his neck?
George Floyd.
George
Floyd, yeah. So should the masses have gotten angry about it, or should they have calmed themselves down and say, okay, this is just
well, of course they should be angry about it. This is not the way the police should behave. Of course they should get angry. Of course they should organize and request that their political leaders control the police and not allow them to behave in such a way. Of course it's appropriate. How could it not be appropriate? But again, this is something in the relative world, the world of this body that comes and goes. Who's to know what it is that George Floyd actually experienced as he was dying? We don't know. We don't know how graceful the divine can be in these circumstances when someone is dying of abuse like this. But should we be absolutely adamant that the police not be allowed to behave in this way? Absolutely.
Brother Shankara, I want
yes, Uma.
Yes, I want to add a point. There are two kinds of situations. In personal cases, anything happens to upset us or lose our balance of mind. That's where, as Haima pointed out, we can go back to our spiritual practice and what is called in Sanskrit sanyama, self-control over our own emotion, particularly when it is negative. So that's where I agree that we should learn how to control our temper and not blow our mind to insult and tit for tat kind of thing. But in another context, which is impersonal, for example, on a larger scale, like racial discrimination, there are so many wrong things happening on impersonal level as racial discrimination or women's rights. So that's where one should use anger in a positive, creative way, which is called righteous indignation. So in public sphere, just like somebody pointed out this George Floyd's case, it is wrong to remain silent. It is okay not only to speak up, but create an environment of wider protest. So this is what I mean, that we should use our discretion. Whether are we getting angry for our personal rights, or is it for a better cause of the justice for world?
So I agree with you. I think what I'm understanding is, and this is my own thought process, that anger by itself is not an emotion you need to necessarily restrain, but it has to be harnessed with conscious intent. So as long as your intent is right, you need the force of anger, because a sportsman, adrenaline is what pushes a sportsman to do well. And that is not much different from when people get into this frenzy. But if the intent is right, then it is directed for a right cause or a right purpose. And fighting a righteous war is also a right cause. It is not that I'll not fight a war even if somebody is trying to come and kill me, because that is clearly, like Ramakrishna said, it's not intelligent thing to do. But I understand from this discussion and what I've read is, all emotions are right as long as the intent and the control over the emotion is there. Control does not necessarily mean subdue your emotion,
and
because that's a different problem. Yeah.
And purpose for which you are
right. Right.
Purpose should be impersonal, general, for the betterment of society and for right cause.
Yeah.
So yes, how can any of our emotions be inappropriate, since they are the creation of divine being? Again, as a verb, divine being gives rise to the relative as well as what we call the absolute world, the eternal, the changeless, the infinite. But we are living, as we sit here this afternoon, this morning, whatever time it is, we are living in the relative world. And so we deal with it in the very best way we can.
Brother, I'm
yes.
sorry. I want to back way up to something that Jaime was saying, and they were asking about, is it a constant state? It's been my experience, especially of late, that, when I take complete refuge in the Lord or the Ishta of my choosing, anger and fear no longer exist for me, to the point to where I actually become apathetic to the world. And I've just got through writing Swami about the difference in disinterested in the world and uninterested in the world, and how to not lose that identification with the rest of the world and humanity as self and as the divine, versus just being completely apathetic to it. But I think that a lot of these problems of people getting worried about the world is they're identifying with the world apparent too much. It's
all of what you said is absolutely true, Bhagavan Das. I think you will receive an answer from Sarvadevananda that goes something like this, that this apathy toward the world and disinclination to be involved in it is a phase. It's a phase. And we go through that phase, and then something catches our attention that leads us. And as was pointed out, it can be such things as social injustice, things that are taking place within our immediate sphere. We can't have much to do with the war between Russia and Ukraine. But we can have something to do with the situation right here in Atlanta, where the former president is charged with these crimes. We can support those people who are doing those things. I'm not saying we should. It's not a question of should. It's just a question of that kind of thing may recapture your attention because of its intensity.
Brother Shankar, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. Hey, this is Vicky.
Yes, Vicky.
Hey, I guess I like the Buddhist approach to anger, in which they say that it's never a good thing to be angry. And that is in part because of, well, several things, but especially two things. The first thing is that when you experience anger, you destroy all the positive merit or positive karma that you've created up to that point. And the other thing is that you're creating the cause to continue to express anger, because everything we do is habit forming. And in Buddhism, it's considered one of the kleshas, one of the main destructive emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'd like to go back to what Jeff said. It was also my understanding that sometimes realized beings, they seem to be angry or express anger, but it's used for a purpose. And I know you said Sri Ramakrishna did actually express anger, so maybe he did, but anyway, what Jeff said was also my understanding. Thanks.
Well, and you're right. Buddhism is it's very interesting in Buddhism how much renunciation is within Buddhism. But if we look at Buddhist teachers, they will use anger to discipline their intimate disciples, not the wider congregation that they serve, but they will use, and the examples, of course, are most demonstrable in the Zen Buddhist roshis. They would even beat their disciples in this this angry state. But it was definitely understood by the student that it was for their own good, and it was an act of love and not an act of meant to damage them. So every tradition has many aspects to it. Buddhism, of course, is not one thing. It's not homogeneous. There's the Zen Buddhism and there's Thai forest Buddhism. There's many different kinds of Buddhism. And their teachings are somewhat different. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist as separate schools of Buddhism. So very well said. Thank you so very much, Vicky.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I should have specified that I was talking about Tibetan Buddhism.
Yeah. Well, Tibetan Buddhism is yet another flavor, yes. And the Dalai Lama is emphatically opposed to anger and says kindness is my religion, and is emphatically opposed to being angry and being abusive in any way. So yes, Tibetan Buddhism is another flavor of Buddhism, and the Dalai Lama is, of course, its current most eloquent proponent. Thank you, Vicky.
Brother Shankara, I just want to add a quick comment. What I mean is, don't use tit for tit, but use tit for tat. If
Very,
you use
very well
dog bites and I go and bite the dog, that's not going to help anybody. So, dog bites and you use the tat, not the tit for tit. You regulate your emotion, take an action if it's a legal action. If my neighbor is attacking me, I'm not going to take the stick and attack him back again. Instead, call the police, do all the other measures with your emotional regulation.
What you call that, I will call wisdom. When to do that, you kill somebody, kindness. That's a better way than to just smash.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
It is a kindness to your neighbor if your neighbor has attacked you. It is a kindness to not, as Jaime said, attack them back. But it's a kindness to call the police.
Exactly. And then let them straighten the thing.
Allow the system to bring them to
help us and
to some sort of judgment. And that's the only way they'll learn. They won't learn anything at all from you attacking them back.
We both
have to confront the system that is meant to control their behavior. They may learn something.
I'd like to change the subject just temporarily and ask Bhagavan Das what the story is with that big frog he's holding.
It's not a frog.
Oh, toad.
That's a toad. No, he's just one of the family.
Okay.
Bhagavan Das has two toads.
That's a toad.
They're very different kinds of toads, and they behave very differently. And you can have a very interesting conversation with him, as I have, about the nature and behavior of these toads.
Okay, very cool.
Anything else from anyone?
Yes, Brother Shankara, this is Jeff again.
Yes, Jeff.
Since Vicky brought up...
Could you speak up just a little bit, please?
Certainly. Since Vicky brought up the Dalai Lama, a thought came to mind that is pertinent to what we're talking about. And that is, after everything that China has done to destroy Tibetan culture and autonomy, I'm sure we're all familiar with the ruthless nature that the China government has perpetrated on Tibet.
Yes.
The Dalai Lama refers to them as his Chinese friends. And you can tell when he speaks that way that he means it. You know?
Yes.
So that's
well, because he's relating to their inner being than to their manifest behavior. He's relating to their Buddha nature. Rather, that's why he calls them friends. He's relating to their Buddha nature, which we all possess. Within that frame of reference, we all have the Buddha nature, which is our spiritual nature. So that's how he can call them friends. Thank you for bringing that up.
And you nurture that nature by having attitudes like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone?
Bhagavan Das? Could you please tell Shankara the names of those swamis that you put in the chat?
Oh, you're gonna pick on the dyslexic guy, are you? Swami
Sorry.
Satyamananda and Swami Mahamindananda.
Satyamananda, Satya, truth.
Anyway, the Satyamananda was the one who had a talk on the evolution of consciousness, talking about what Swami Vivekananda had taught, and it was Swami Mahamindananda who was talking about purification, moving us towards the divinity and away from our animal origins.
Thank you. Duly noted and in the record, since all this is recorded. Anything else? Thank you, Lori, and thank you, Bhagavan Das. Anything else from anyone?
Yes, one word from Jen. Hello. The Dalai Lama and his being able to overcome any anger that he must feel about what has happened in Tibet. I was in talking yesterday, and I think those kind of able to control or regulate our emotions or tendencies are, again, what Sri Ramakrishna said of a Godward turn, of taking all of these natural responses or emotions or tendencies we have, and if we turn them Godward, that's when we're able to really move into that divine being that we adore and we are, whether we know it or not. So that Godward turn is pure magic in my experience.
Well, Jen, you're absolutely right. And Sri Ramakrishna did say that, and it became a real mantra for Swami Prabhavananda, my teacher. Give everything a Godward turn. And so you think of everything in terms of the divine and somehow make that a part of your life, as Swami Sri Dharananda said, divinize your life. Make everything in your life a manifestation of grace. Make it sacramental by seeing the inward grace behind the outward manifestation. So you're absolutely right. When we do this, it transforms us. And of course, that's the point. It's transformation to where we're no longer trapped. It isn't as if there's anything wrong with us, but if we feel trapped, then how to escape that entrapment? And so we pursue these spiritual ideas, make them our own, make them replace the old habits with the new habits, which is exactly what Patanjali said. Replace the old samskaras with new and better samskaras, and slowly we transform, so that then as we learn better, we transform, we replace even those samskaras with yet higher samskaras, till we finally reach the samskara of samadhi. And we are at that point. That's that, the last line of the poem, I'm free, free at last. That is the state of samadhi. Thank you. Anything else from anyone?
Yeah, I just got curious and I did a Google on, does the Dalai Lama ever get angry? And a reporter asked him that, and he said, oh yes, I get very angry. And if you want to read the details, just do the Google yourself.
Yes, but the question is, what does he do with that anger?
Yeah.
Of course he gets angry.
Yeah. Right. And you can read the, there's a lot written about it. He had a lot to say about it.
I'm sure he did. That's the Dalai Lama. He's not a quiet guy.
I'd really recommend the talk that Swami Sarvadevananda gave lately called Come Mother Come, where he talks about recognizing it all as the play of the mother, to where it no longer.
Bhagavan Das, would you do me the kindness of sending me the link to that talk?
Yes, I will.
Please do, because I would like to listen to that talk. I've heard so much about it from you and others. So if you would send me the link, that'll be a real kindness. Because it's so hard for me to find things with my vision. Anything else from anyone?
Yes, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. This is
Nilesh. Yeah, this is Nilesh. I just came from India in last year. I just want to add one thing about the calm and growth. one of the saints in Maharashtra called Dhaneshwar has wrote a very good commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And if you find the shlokas of chapter 3 from 37 and onwards, he has written a very good commentary and very good examples. But it's in Marathi and also translated by many authors or many, can say the professionals, and also lot of work has been done on it. So we can find lot of examples on Kama and Krodha. And the the commentary is called as Dhaneshwari in Marathi. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for all that. And for those of you who can make use of that, please do. Anything else from anyone? All right, dears. Om Hari Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu. No. Om Hari Om. Om Hari Om. Om Hari Om. May we all be safe. May we all be healthy. May we all be cheerful. May we all have peace of mind. And may we all go forward in the loving and in the secure knowledge. May we all go forward in the secure knowledge that we are in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. So may you all be well and in bright spirits until we meet again on Wednesday evening for our class on on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna.
That is Tuesday, Brother Shankara.
Tuesday. Thank you, dear.
Okay.
As you get old, these things escape you. Tuesday. Wednesday is the Gita class. And on Saturday, we're just winding up the reading and discussion of the book, How to Know God, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So Tuesday night, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Haima is our reader. Wednesday night, Bhagavad Gita. We're well along in the Gita. And our reader is Swayam Prabha. And on Saturday, our reader is Jeff Salvage. So thank you to all of you. And any final thought from anyone? Any final comment or question or thought?
Thank you so much, Shankara.
Well, thank you, dears. This
I
is
sent that
such
to
a
your
joy to
Gary
be with.
email.
Say it again, please.
I sent that to your Gary email, your personal email.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Well, until next time, dears, may we all be well and in bright spirits, and may our spiritual practices be joyous and fruitful. And any of you who want to read that poem again, as Cindy said, it's in the last week's newsletter, and it is on the website, the vedantaatlanta.org website. So you'll find it there.
Thank you, brother. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma.